Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News. Today is Sunday. It's the 20th day of October, 2024. And as always, we have a number of headlines to share with you that continue to show that the Bible knows exactly what's going to take place at the time of the end of this age before the second coming of Christ, as it predicts many events that will occur before Christ returns. And as we're seeing the stage set for these events, we're continually amazed at what we see. Never surprised, but always amazed. All right, let's look at the headlines. Joe Biden says the Gaza ceasefire is going to be harder to achieve now that Sinwar is dead, as Blinken, the Secretary of State, again heads to the Middle East to discuss the aftermath. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, there was an assassination attempt on him Saturday night in Israel. And so, what he has said in response, Iran's proxies who tried to assassinate me made a grave mistake. Now, here's a really sad story. U.S. intelligence documents outlining Israel's potential attack plan on Iran have been leaked. Somehow the plan had been leaked, and an Iranian website published it. And we'll talk about who the possible suspects may be who would have released it from the American side. Now, the Iranian foreign minister then came out and said, well, those who know how Israel will attack Iran should be held accountable for casualties. And finally, it's real. Kamala Harris appears to agree that Israel is committing genocide in one of her campaign stops. And so it goes. All right. Before we get into this, we just want to give you a little update on what we're working on. We talk about our book, 45 Common Mistakes, about last day's Bible prophecy cleared up. We're going to do a series on some of the most common mistakes that people make. And we're working on the one right now about the fall feast because people are getting all excited. You get these stories from various websites, the fall feast from Leviticus 23, predicting a return of Christ, the rapture of the church, of the second coming in the fall of the year. And so people get all ginned up. And so this is, especially now, it's because we're at Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And you hear this happen, you hear this being promoted all the time. And it's just not true. It's very much untrue. In fact, on our website, it's mistake number 43 that we're finishing off, and will record a summary of this. We have 21 indisputable facts from Scripture we've listed. So if you want to look at them, they're right now on the website, Educating Our World, under this book, under Bible Prophecy, the 45 Common Mistakes. And basically, it doesn't work for so many reasons, and we go through them in detail. So we summarize at the end all 21 indisputable facts and how this idea this just does not work. And so we'll get to that. We'll be hopefully recording it this week. In fact, it's interesting. The more I get into it, the more I learn. I've found out some things just yesterday. I had no idea. I should have known about this. So we'll get it there to you. All right, let's get to the headlines. Headline number one, Joe Biden. Gaza ceasefire harder to achieve as Blinken heads to the region to discuss the aftermath. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Biden previously stated now is the time to move on towards a ceasefire, but he is changing his tune. A Gaza ceasefire is difficult to achieve. President Joe Biden, according to Joe Biden, reporters, he told as he dispatched his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to the region this week, who will begin discussing with the new geopolitical reality now that Sinwar is dead in the aftermath of the assassination of Sinwar. And it's interesting, they called it an assassination, but they didn't even know it was Sinwar. He's just one of three terrorists in this building. And once they eliminated him, they found out this looks like Sinwar, and it turned out to be him. But anyway, he did get taken out. Biden told reporters in Germany on Friday there's a possibility of working to a ceasefire in Lebanon, but it's going to be harder in Gaza. Earlier in the day, he had sounded more optimistic. Now is the time to move on towards a ceasefire. But then someone told him the reality because Hamas came out and said, no, we're not going to change at all. We're going to be even harder now to make more demands now that Sinwar is dead, getting your hostages back. And like we've said, they're not interested in the ceasefire. They never have been, never will be. They'll probably fight to the last person there. So Israel has to do what it can just to rid them of any military potential to cause problems there in the Gaza Strip. All right, headline number two, Netanyahu said Iran's proxies who tried to assassinate me made a grave mistake. This will not stop me or Israel from continuing our fight for security. Property damage assesses evaluate damage at his residence following drone strike. Now, he accused Iranian-backed forces of attempting to assassinate him and his wife, Sarah, after a drone launch from Lebanon targeted his private residence in Caesarea on Saturday. Iran's proxies who tried to assassinate me and my wife made a grave mistake. Now, they weren't at home at the time. He vowed that the incident would not deter Israel from its mission. This will not stop me or Israel from continuing our fight for security. I say to Iran and its partners in the axis of evil, anyone who tries to harm Israeli citizens will pay a heavy price. We will continue to eliminate your terrorists, bring our captives home from Gaza, and secure the north. We will achieve our war objectives and change the security reality for generations. Together we fight, and with God's help, together we will win. Now, a preliminary investigation revealed that the helicopter that detected the drone failed to identify it, leading to sirens being activated only in military areas and not in Caesarea. Sadly, that's where Netanyahu lives, so they really weren't aware of this. The drone, which was recorded on social media, struck a building nearby Netanyahu's home. And now it's been reported that his house is actually hit, though not confirmed because they don't want to give out evidence like that. But they did try to assassinate him. That was Iran, of course, by means of Hezbollah. And it's sad that the drone wasn't caught because the warning signs don't go back deep in Caesarea where his house is. And so that was rather disturbing. Fortunately, he wasn't there. But it just lends more fuel to the fire when Israel responds. They will respond and they will hit Iran very, very hard in many areas. And again, we're still waiting for it. We don't know when it'll happen, but likely fairly soon. We're still in the holiday of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Festival of Tabernacles. And by the way, one thing I learned the other day, I should have known this, of the 7 sacred assemblies that are listed there in Leviticus chapter 23, only 2 of them are called festivals, feasts. Tabernacles and the unleavened bread. The others are not. So it's wrong to say the so-called fall feast because there's 7 sacred assemblies or 7 sacred meetings there, holy days that are listed, but only 2 of them are festivals or feasts. The other 5 are not called that. I should have known that, but you learn something new every day, don't you? All right, anyway. Headline number 3, U.S. intelligence documents outlining Israel's potential attack plan on Iran leaked. This is from Walla news site. That's an Israeli site. The timing of the leak comes as Israel is contemplating preparations for a retaliatory strike on Iran in response to the October 1st mission attack. And by the way, I just got my Red Alert app just showed up. There's an attack on Haifa right now in Israel, so it never stops. Hezbollah, the last day, have sent like 100 rockets over, so they're still shooting them from Lebanon, so it continues on. So anyway, the senior American officials voiced serious concern on Saturday following a leak of 2 U.S. intelligence documents allegedly outlining Israel's preparation for a potential strike on Iran. These documents were published by a Telegram account linked to Iran. While both the U.S. Department of Defense and the Office of National Intelligence declined to comment on the leaked documents, they did not deny their authenticity. The timing of the leak comes as Israel is contemplating preparations for a retaliatory strike on Iran in response to the October 1st missile attack. An unnamed senior Israeli official remarked, Israel's defense establishment is aware of the leak and takes it very seriously. Well, who could have leaked it? Israel is obviously not happy, but from our next story, we may have a clue. Let's go into headline number 4. The Iranian foreign minister says those who know how Israel will attack Iran should be held accountable for the casualties. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant had updated U.S. Secretary of State Lloyd Austin on Saturday on the progress they'd made against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and also told him certain things about the attack. How do we know this? Well, according to the Jerusalem Post, and we've seen this, we've saw the video, Tehran warned over the weekend that it held the United States responsible for any retaliatory strike against Iran after, and here's the key, after U.S. President Joe Biden acknowledged that he knew of the IDF's plans. So Joe Biden knows of the plans. He said he did, but he's not going to say anything about it. And yet something leaks, some intelligence, 2 different, an intelligence document leaks. It goes over these very detailed plans. And so the Iranian foreign minister says anyone with knowledge or understanding of how and when Israel is going to attack Iran and are providing the means and backing of such folly should logically be held accountable for any possible casualties. All right, so Biden admits he knows the plan. Obviously, then, so does Kamala Harris. So who is guilty here? Well, does our next story offer a clue? We don't know. We're just asking the question. Headline number 5, it's real. Harris appears to agree Israel is committing genocide. This is from Israel's national news. At a campaign stop at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, U.S. Vice President Harris appeared to publicly agree with a protester who interrupted her to accuse Israel of committing genocide. What he's talking about is real, she said. Now, here's what happened. You may have heard the story. It's making big news in Israel, as it should, and also here in the U.S. U.S. Vice President publicly agreed with a protester who interrupted her to accuse Israel of committing genocide, the New York Post reported on Saturday. An incident occurred this past Thursday during a campaign stop at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. A pro-Hamas student began yelling out at Harris while she was speaking, and there is a video of the exchange that showed this incident. "I am so invested in you all in every way," she could be heard saying it as the interruption began. "And in the genocide, right?" the heckler said. "Billions of dollars in genocide, billions of dollars in genocide." Someone off camera could be heard whispering, "Shut up," to the heckler, who continued speaking. "I am speaking right now," Harris said before adding, "I know what you're speaking of. I want the ceasefire. I want the war to end, and I respect your right, but I'm speaking right now." "But what about the genocide? What about the genocide?" yelled the protester who was wearing a kiafa. He then was escorted out of the hall while yelling, 19,000 children are dead. You won't call it genocide. We keep hearing that number, 19, 20,000. It's so wrong. It is so, this is not what's happened there in Gaza. And if it did, whose fault would it be? Who started the war? Who is fighting from Gaza? Who is hiding behind kindergartens, hospitals, mosques? It's Hamas. Now here, Harris then appeared to endorse his view, telling the crowd the issue was real. "Listen, what he's talking about, it's real. That's not the subject I came to discuss today, but it's real, and I respect his voice," she said after the heckler left. Now, the vice president has never previously suggested that Israel's counterterrorism war in Gaza amounts to a genocide of Gazans, noted the New York Post. Now, of course, a Harris campaign official clarified this is not the view of the Biden-Harris administration or the vice president. What she just said, she didn't really mean. No, so as usual, here we go. This happens so much. Someone comes along and says, Harris really didn't mean what she said. She didn't really mean it. We got another story. Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro yesterday likewise explained why Harris has changed her views on energy. The headline is, he says, she needs to explain her energy flips. I think it's because she listened and learned. Evidently, she can't speak for herself because every time she says something, it is contrary to the mantra they want to get out to the world, that they say, well, she didn't really mean it, or we have to clarify what she said. So, as usual, someone comes along and cleans up what she had to say. Now, it's a little more than 2 weeks before the election, so please keep praying for our country. Again, for those who are new here, please take advantage of our resources from our website, Educating Our World. We have 12 books for free download on Bible prophecy, especially 25 signs. We're near the end. Also, 53 books on various biblical subjects, 11 other biblical subjects. We go into great detail. It's all free, and it's all for your edification. And we do this so you can know what we believe as Christians, why we believe it, and how to live the Christian life. This is why we do what we do, and to encourage you that all things are going right according to God's plan. And he tells us it's going to be difficult times in these last days. We need to be aware of that. But we also have light at the end of the tunnel, because like we always say, we've seen the last scene of the movie, the last act of the play, the last chapter of the book. It's there in scripture and tells us what's going to happen. So we're very much optimistic every day. So we watch everything and report everything in that light. And again, from time to time, like we say, where there's some misconceptions out there by, some very well-meaning people about what the Bible does teach about the last days, we try and clear that up and clean it up. And like we said, and just to let you know, just so you're wondering, in my book, 45 Common Mistakes About Last Days Bible Prophecy Cleared Up, I probably made 25 of them in my early career too. So we're not pointing the finger at anybody. We're just trying to say further study helps us learn that certain things that have been promoted as being correct are not really biblical. And that's why we try and do this, to clean things up. Because at the end of the day, what does the Bible say? That's the only thing we really care about. All right, I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with you tomorrow with another edition of Breaking News. Unless something comes up today, we'll break in and do a special edition. Until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless you.